Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the Navy League's annual Sea Airspace Conference and Trade Show just outside Washington, D.C., the #1 gathering of U.S. Navy leaders from around the world, along with their international counterparts to talk strategy, technology, budgets, and more. Our coverage here is sponsored by GE Marine, Huntington Ingalls Industries, and Leonardo DRS, and we're here at the Boeing stand to talk to Dave Allen, who is the president and CEO of Liquid Robotics, now a Boeing company. First, congratulations, you succeeded Gary Gysin in the job of one of the more interesting companies in our space, Dave, if I can say that. You guys have been talking. You have the Waveglider vehicle that comes in a variety of different models. You guys have built a thriving commercial business, but also a good defense business as well, some in terms of direct sales, but others as a service to the customer. You guys have been refining that model. The Navy has been talking about different kinds of ways that it wants to use this sort of distributed sea surveillance architecture you guys have built, both for commercial and military application. Talk to us about how this model is evolving and how your relationship with the Navy is evolving along with it.
Sure, so I think the primary thing obviously is you've got to listen. We can't just go on push, this is what we want to sell to you. We have to listen to what the Navy is saying, what are the missions they're looking at, do they want to own, do they want the services? So, we listen to that and then we really kind of modify as we go from there. So we're feeling like more and more actually what we want to do is offer solutions rather than a service, but again, it's driven by the customer, Vago.
The Navy has put a premium on, increasing premium about looking at itself as a data organization that actually projects sea power, whether in terms of its manned platforms, aircraft, undersea, autonomous, you name it. And a distributed unmanned architecture is something critical to the Navy. We just saw the requirement go out for the medium-size unmanned surface platform. We have ultra-large diameter underwater vehicle, and by the way, congratulations to the Boeing team on the Echo Voyager program, which was a real tectonic win for you guys. Tell us a little bit about how a Waveglider gets stitched into this architecture, because as opposed to going fast, your guys' model has been go very slow, be very persistent, but actually maybe put more vehicles in there to cover the space. Talk to us about how you fit into this new unmanned autonomous ecosystem the Navy's trying to build.
Sure, so as you said, mobile, we're not going to go at a blistering pace, but we are relocatable so we can move around, get that distributed sensor network, very persistent, long endurance, so we can really establish pattern of life, look for what the differences are, and then move that data very, very fast. We interface obviously seamlessly with the other Boeing platforms, but also with other platforms as well. The critical thing is that we get the data quickly to where it needs to be so someone can make a decision. So for instance, in our ASW solution, we can detect a target, we can relay that data very fast, real time, and then something can react to that and come in and deliver the effect that the Navy are looking for.
And it's also kind of a hard thing to detect and to target, isn't it?
Right, it is. But we've proven that we can do it, so it's proven, it's not a concept. We obviously have to continue to work out what the real ConOp is, work with the customer, what's the target set they're interested in. Obviously the world is different as well, the environment's different. The fact though that we can do in situ measurements of what that environment is and then react accordingly is obviously also very critical.
Obviously you guys can tow about 1,000 pounds of payload. I mean, it's extraordinary how much, you could actually go, well, you can't go water skiing behind it, but it certainly gives you certainly a good ride. We've been offered that by your predecessors, by the way, to go and like swim with the Waveglider.
And you're still welcome.
I'm still welcome. I always see it like breaking a limb actually because it has so much power. But tell us a little bit about the scalability of this. It started smaller, it's grown, it has a version that's bigger than this, and you guys have talked about getting even bigger versions out there. What's the size class that you guys are starting to look at? Because at a certain point, you guys really do transition from something that's very capable and small to something that actually may be much more capable and a little bit bigger.
Right, well again, this is about listening to customers and also putting ourselves through our paces. Every year, for 3 years now in a row, we have put ourselves up into the high latitudes, extreme sea state, and really looked at what can the platform do. Where are its vulnerabilities, what do we need to improve upon? So this is continual work in progress. In terms of the different sizes, again, customer driven. What is the requirement? What is it they're looking for? We talk to customers, some say we need more power, others say we need more speed. So we're constantly evaluating that and looking at, what is a potential family of Waveglider systems, what does that look like? So really customer driven, Vago. What is the requirement, what's the ConOp?
And and now that you guys have been part of the Boeing family for a little bit longer, how has that relationship been manifesting itself? There's always a concern that you have a very innovative Silicon Valley culture that then gets acquired by a big defense contractor. I think that Boeing prides itself on being agile, but it's still it's a titanic defense contractor compared to what it is you guys historically have been used to. Talk to us about how that relationship is going and how you guys maintain that sort of culture of speed and agility, even within a very large organization.
Right, I mean, it's a great question, and if you look at me, I mean, that is my job. My job here is to make sure we preserve that culture, that Silicon Valley culture. We don't want to be a startup anymore. We want to move forwards and move into scale. But we still want to, keep that agile, response, be very customer focused, and really drive innovation still. But we're a company of just over 100 people in Silicon Valley and in our Hawaii facility. But we've got 150,000 Boeing employees right behind us. That's true global reach and scale that we can tap into as and when we need it. And that's my job, Vago, is to drive that and just pick what is the right amount of that help, and then what is the right amount of real kind of Silicon Valley culture we want to keep.
And talk to us about how you've drawn on that, right? I mean, if you look at the Boeing portfolio, it goes everything from ground systems to comms to space, undersea, conventional aircraft. What are some of the skill sets you've drawn off of Boeing to help you guys solve some material issues that as a smaller company you would have had to go to somebody else to try to do?
Right. Well, as you described, yeah, we are the essential link from seabed to space. So that is the purpose of Waveglider. We manage their air-sea interface. And if you look at me in particular, I also run a business that covers acoustics, so anti-submarine warfare products for the P-8, for example, and we can seamlessly interact with that from Waveglider. Being part of the autonomous systems portfolio as well, we can tap into in situ, the integrator, ScanEagle. We can also, tap into all of the other areas of expertise that we have, both in autonomous systems, but also our colleagues in P8, for instance. We can go and integrate there. So there's lots of synergy and lots of goodness that Boeing bring to this. But that Silicon Valley culture is still really critical, and we're working really hard to preserve that.
And of course, AeroVironment as well, right? I mean, not AeroVironment. Aurora Flight Sciences,
right,
is not AeroVironment. Boeing has not bought AeroVironment, so I just want to stress Boeing has not bought AeroVironment. Although, no, I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, at the rate that you guys have been picking up these businesses, right? I mean, In-Situ was a number of years ago. You guys had the Ocean Voyager win. You guys picked up Aurora, which is another highly innovative unmanned systems company. Talk to us a little bit about that integration and how all of these pieces are coming together, because it's a really now formidable portfolio that you guys have. I mean, as you said, from undersea all the way up to space and layers in between that and then MQ-25. I mean, you can't, that is probably one of the most flagship unmanned aircraft that are going to be out, unmanned systems that will be out.
Right. Well, again, talking to the customer, talking to Navy and other navies, obviously customers around the world, they really are looking for that. How do you integrate? How do you network? How do you really, come up with a force multiplier? And so that's a critical part of what we're doing. The fact that we have all of those guys, all those entities, as you just described, right there, we can have those conversations. We can, from the design stage, make sure that we're interoperable and compatible. That really helps drive that and make it more seamless.
Dave Allen, President and CEO of Liquid Robotics, a Boeing company. Dave, absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for spending some time with us, and hopefully one of these days we can see you guys either in Sunnyvale or even sunnier Hawaii.
Right, that sounds great, Vago, and thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.